On October 22, 2012, a woman in her early 20s named Whitney suddenly vanished on her way to work at Starbucks. What concluded within the case shocked the entire nation and unfortunately ended in a brutal fatality. The next animation was inspired by this tragic event. There was a time not so long ago that my only relationship to Starbucks was that I worked there. I wasn't a fanatical customer. I wasn't the owner of a franchise. All I had to do with the coffee chain was the fact that I could be seen in the drive-thru window in the dark hours of the late shift. For a long time, I thought this meant literally nothing. After all, very little business ever came through the drive-thru at the hour, especially given the location I worked at, being somewhere most people consider as the middle of nowhere. Most people were just stopping by to get some caffeine so they could continue with their overnight drives across the middle of the country. The inside was closed anyway, but I doubt most of them would have considered staying for long if it was. It wasn't an urban craft coffee house. It was just a rural Starbucks.
Hi, welcome to Starbucks. How may I take your order?
Yeah, so, I'd like a grande iced caramel macchiato with extra vanilla sweet foam, 2 pumps of caramel syrup, 2 pumps of mocha syrup with soy milk and brown sugar topping. Oh, and 2 extra shots of espresso. I never understood how people could put such diabetic abominations into their bodies and continue to function normally. And it always amused me how they seemed allergic to real cow's milk, as if it was unhealthy or something, when they were about to consume enough sugar to put a toddler into a coma. But that's beside the point, because for all the silly sorority girls and giggling frat boys coming in to order this unholy concoction, or another, none of them caused anybody any harm, except maybe to their own pancreas. Actually, as a matter of fact, when I look back on those people now, I tend to see them as fond memories of a simpler, more innocent time in my life. More than anything, I wish I could go back to my old life of standing in that drive-thru and feeding people's addictions to caffeine and sugar. Unfortunately, there's just no way that's going to be possible. Not after what happened that night. The night began no different than any other. There was nothing in the air that suggested any of the things that were about to happen. So, when the beat-up old truck rolled into the empty drive-thru without a license plate, I didn't bat an eye. The drive-thru had a couple cameras pointed toward the intercom, so we could easily remember which cars were supposed to be getting what drinks. But it wasn't meant for identifying license plates and tipping off the police about people with expired tags or whatever. For the most part, the truck looked like a textbook local. Some kind of farmhand or factory worker getting roped into some late-night work and stopping in for some coffee. The man inside of it, however, was somehow even worse for wear.
Hi, welcome to Starbucks. How may I take your order?
Your voice sounds just perfect. What do you look like?
Yeah. You'll find out when you come around to pick up your order. What would you like to drink?
You guys do all those fancy coffees, right? I guess I'll get a large hot latte with 2 globs of Starbucks saliva, 2 locks of barista hair, and
Sir, this isn't funny. You'll have to order something on the menu, please.
Oh, I'm not trying to be funny, sweetheart. I'm serious. I'll give you the biggest tip of your life if you splash some of your very own urine in my drink.
I'm not putting up with this. Would you rather speak to my manager, sir?
No, no, no. I want you to serve me. And I'd really love it if you'd serve me some of your blood with that coffee, if you don't mind.
Okay, that's enough. If you don't get the hell out of here, I'm calling the cops.
I dealt with some seriously rude and disrespectful customers before, but this guy certainly took the cake. I watched him drive off from the intercom, hoping that he would just be some creepy old dude playing some kind of crass joke on a college student, and that he would drive off and not stop at the window. But of course, he wasn't ready to leave yet. He screeched to a stop just outside the window, leaning out of his car door with a strangely apologetic face, pleading something with his hands together. Reluctantly, I opened the window just a crack. I'm sorry, really. I didn't mean to freak you out. You're just as perfect as you sounded. You know, you have the most beautiful blonde hair. Such long, sultry hair. Anyway, I'm sorry about all that back there. I just want a black coffee. I wasn't sure what to make of the situation. He seemed like he was just some out-of-touch old creep trying to prey on some younger women, which obviously is a terrible thing to do, but I wasn't worried about men like that. I worked at a rural Starbucks, and that was something I'd had to handle a lot of. I could handle myself around creeps like him. It wasn't worth getting reprimanded to deny him service.
And how will you be paying?
He held out a clenched fist while he stared at me with hungry, wrinkled eyes, almost drooling over his sagging chin. I ignored his gaze and opened the window a little more to get my arm through. I held out my hand to receive the change, but when he opened his fist, there was nothing in it at all. In the same instant, he latched onto my arm with a vice grip and yanked onto my arm. He was so much stronger than I thought he could be. He pulled me right out through the window and into his car. Right as I got the time to react, just beginning my struggle against him, he struck me over the head with something like a hammer, and I blacked out. When I came to, I was bound to a table, my legs chained up to the ceiling, my clothes nowhere to be found. I realized that I was in that man's cellar when I saw him standing behind a camera on a tripod. I thought I knew what was about to happen, but I had no idea. Do you know what the Starbucks mascot looks like?
No, please just let me go.
You! The mascot looks like you stupid girl! Here's something else I bet you didn't know. The mascot is a mermaid, and I'm gonna make one out of you!
No,